because there was no point us spending all this time and effort, kind of
27
like
years,
trying to
3 months,
and time, effort,
13
money on
days
these
left.
production values, and it to never translate.
Yeah.
So it took a while to kind of figure out.
And just little things like, you know, when you see a cassette tape and you press the button on the cassette, a hand comes in and does that. That's actually, you know, although that's a really small thing, but for me, it had to be perfect,
Yeah.
so that it feels like you're in control at that point and you're actually there, so it doesn't take you out of the game. And that's the main thing with this, is we wanted everything to be super smooth, super seamless, so that you don't actually worry about the fact that it's FMV. That, you know, all of those behind the scenes, under the hood mechanics are just incidental. You know, you just get into the story and you get sucked through that.
And that's one exciting thing about the game industry today. Obviously, you've got your big budget AAA releases with, you know, thousands of hours of gameplay, all different kinds of things you can do. But you've also got these very kind of cool experiences where you can tell a story through a different medium, and that suspension of disbelief and that sense of ingratiation to the story can be so much more profound in a game, rather than just telling the story in a 90-minute feature or a TV series.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, the beauty of games is you get immersed in the story with the main character, and you really feel a part of their journey. You know, games like, you know, Gone Home and Firewatch, I just love, because you're there with the character, and you know, they're an emotional ride, and that's what we tried to do with the bunker, so that, you know, you really go through this awful journey with John, and then come out the other end, having had an experience which is a sort of like a movie experience. You know, so it moves you on the level that movies do. Hopefully.
I mean, yeah, as I say, I've watched a few people stream up to a certain point, and I stopped myself because of spoilers. You know, I checked a little bit of myself, but the setting and the tone, and as I say, I like the slow pace. And you know, one thing I find in one of movies is that sometimes exposition is rammed down your throat. This is the story, this is what's happening, this is the character's journey.
It feels more like a kind of like a procedure.
Yeah, it feels like,
kind of
you know, we're doing the Sid Field first act to get to the second act, whereas this, it's the mechanics are the exposition. You know, you're slowly going through the checklist, which is naturally teaching you the game and the point-and-click mechanics, and that feels something that kind of, you know, from a cinema theory point of view, is going to lend itself to a more suspension of disbelief process.
So what's happening right here is that we've gone through John's routine, and we've gradually started to, you know, we toyed with the pacing a little bit, made it a little bit quicker, but the idea was to kind of demonstrate this very lonely existence and this empathy that you have for this very kind of just awful place that he lives in, and now something's gone wrong and he's having to do things for the first time, and so are you, because you don't know what you're doing. Yeah. So right here we've got to find the manual.
Yeah, so I mean, John's nightmare begins now. It seems like a small problem that's easily fixed. I've seen various people solve this problem in various lengths of time. You know, sometimes you're worried that a game's maybe too easy or sometimes too difficult, and then you see real gamers play this, and you know, they all tackle it a completely different way, which is really fun to see that. But it you know, it just shows you that you can be, you know, non-linear in storytelling and in this kind of format. You know, so players can really search the whole bunker right now.
I love
on levels 1 and 2.
This bit. It's my underwear drawer, and then he goes.
Yeah, this is. You have to have the underwear drawer, and we've got a toilet as well, because you have to have a toilet in the game, and you have to click on. Everybody clicks on the toilet in the game. He doesn't go to the toilet at that point in the game. But it's
we made sure we've.
it was filming in a real location was really fascinating, because, you know, there are real filing cabinets and cupboards and doors and things everywhere. And of course, as a gamer myself, I knew that if we made a game and there was a filing cabinet, you have to click on the filing cabinet and see what's in all the drawers. So you have to immediately do another camera setup, light it, you know. So every single thing is a new setup in filmmaking. But it has to feel that the gamer is just in control at that point.
Yeah, I guess that's a tough thing to balance. Obviously, you come from a TV background, I think, and obviously if you're shooting stuff for TV, it's kind of that linear editing. It's this point to that point to this point.
Yeah.
In this game, you've got to think, oh, what's the viewer going to want to, what's the player going to want to click? You know, how's that going to interact, and how do I edit from that point into the next scene? And that must be a whole new way of thinking.
Yeah, I mean, we would open up literally filing cabinets that have been there since the government went into this nuclear bunker and find Barry Manilow CDs. Singles, you know.
That's a horror film by itself, Barry Manilow singles.
No, it was at one point. At one point, there was like talk of like adding it in. I was like, I'm just.
I wanted it to be the closing title theme. That's horrible. Sorry, Barry. Really not his best work for the closing credits, but thankfully everybody said that's a terrible idea, so we didn't do that. But yeah, I mean, it's a big challenge, and you know, this is a real place you can go to. We obviously dressed it as a set to make it look like
yeah, the blood's not there.
A game, and obviously there's blood on the sheets here. There's all sorts of stuff, and we were going around changing all the signs,
July, 96.
making sure
Patient's
everything
name,
was
Vera Taylor.
didn't feel like a
Patient
tourist
reports
attraction, which
headache
actually
from Monday
is,
AM,
because it
vomiting
was a
and
real
diarrhea
bunker, and
Wednesday.
then it became a museum.
Also cough
so,
with occasional blood.
So we had to hide everything,
Intermittent
hide all
bowel.
of those things.
And that's one thing, that really comes across in just this small bit of footage scene is the tone and the colours and the sense of the isolation's almost breeds itself. You feel it just by looking at it, and then obviously you've got the grainy footage here, the cam, and it's the tone that you set is very much something that you're automatically kind of on edge.
Yeah, you are definitely. I mean, the bunker is definitely a character in the story. It's almost John versus the bunker, because this place never wanted him to be there. It still doesn't want him to be there. He was never meant to be there. This was a little accident that happened. His mother was the chief medical officer. She was just pregnant on the day and gave birth on the day that the bombs fell. So yeah, so he's grown up a very strange life. He's been a child. He's never seen outdoors. He's never seen an animal. He's never seen the sky. And of course that affects you mentally and physically. So we did a lot of research about lack of vitamin D on a human, and it does affect your brain as well.
Kind of like, what would it take to really survive? Kind of, we try to be as honest to that as possible.
And as the player now starts to venture out of this corridor, they then explore all the other environmental elements we have in there, just like in a point-and-click adventure. So there's tape cassettes, there's computers, there's ring binders, there's chalkboards, there's lots and lots of stuff that you can analyze. You hear audio flashbacks, you can read them, and you start to delve deeper into the secret of the bunker, which is obviously he's not really been out of this area for 20 years since his mother's died, and he's suppressed lots of his memories. So a lot of these things that he witnessed when he was a child start to come back. So soon, when John leaves, you'll see his first flashback, which is he enters the stairway, and he remembers a clandestine conversation on the stairwell sometime late at night between the commissioner and Sam, and clearly something bad's happening in the bunker. But we don't really know what it will be until we get further and further and further into the story. And all the flashbacks are in the wrong order. So it makes sense when you've got to the end, but you'll realize that you're not seeing everything in the right order. You're seeing it as John enters that space. So it's a little bit Memento-esque in terms of playing with structure. But I quite enjoy that as a gamer and as the audience. I quite enjoy something which challenges you a little bit. And then when you get to the end, you think,
and then you want to play it again to see the way it signifies. And when I see a really good film or a really good TV show, I always almost want to watch it again straight away to see how it's developed and learn that kind of the journey you've been on. And I guess it's something you want to do with this game as well. When you complete it, you'll want to go back and see how things unfold.
That's right, sure, because everything will mean something else when you see it the second time. So it's that kind of game, and there's lots of things to collect in there. We've got lots of achievements. We've got collectibles. John, the child, had no toys, clearly, because he's in a nuclear bunker made by the government. And he used to steal the little wooden blocks off the war table and just pinch the odd one here and there and whittle them down to make little dolls.
I think we saw them earlier in the...
That's right, so those are the little toys,
about his mum's shop.
slightly scary, weird dolls that he's made to sort of play with as he's a kid. And you can actually collect them, and they give you a little bit of information about the characters as well. So that's just a fun thing we wanted to do. But it adds also a bit of a layer of sadness to the character, that this to him, this was a fun thing to do.
It seems like you've really thought about the way the mechanics and the way you explore the story informs the character. I mean, there's a lot of story games that I play, and obviously you mentioned some great ones like Firewatch and Gone Home, but there's other ones that, I'm not going to mention any names, that kind of feel a bit forced. This feels like you've really thought about how, the fact that you're waking up, this character's not experienced life outside, so it almost informs you as a player that you don't know much about the world either, just like the character in the game.
It was a decision very early on that kind of our previous game was kind of like The Hunting, which is an iOS game, and it's kind of multi-path and lots of branches in story, and we thought if we're going to employ actors and we're going to kind of like rely on that, we really want to kind of like push that further. And you made the decision quite early on. You were like, no, I want there to be a pacing, and I want to kind of like control it.
Yeah, and it's obviously non-linear in the sense that you can solve, you know, the game in a sort of in any way you like. You know, if you're the kind of gamer who wants to explore everything, read all the stuff, get really deep into all the secrets, you can. And if you're the kind of gamer who just wants to get through, get to the end, find out what happens, and then perhaps do that afterwards, then you can. You know, we worked with some great writers who, you know, Steve Ince worked on Broken Sword and The Witcher, and Ian Thomas and Kevin Beamers, and you know, we sort of created this 3D map with one eye on the budget we had, which was limited, and then the other eye on giving as much for the players to do as possible with the resources we had. So, and you know, really keeping the player engaged in the story, because when you're doing live action, you're clearly not pushing forward on the joystick and Adam Brown walks forward.
Yeah.
That, you know, that would be cool. I don't know how to do that yet.
I don't think we're quite there
yet. We might try that,
yeah,
in the next one. So yeah, you have to make it entertaining, you have to keep the pacing up, and it starts off nice and gentle, and then it starts to ramp up quite quickly.
I think something that players will appreciate, rather than be forced into a mechanic that doesn't suit the game or the setting. This is, you know, suits the way it's played. You know, the slow build up. You know, I want to go investigate that area, let's go and point and click, and it's something you've clearly learned from games like Broken Sword, going back to, you know, Day of the Tentacle, Indiana Jones, up until the, you know, games like Heavy Rain and Firewatch, like you say, and it seems like it's despite the fact it's informed and inspired by those games, it feels like its own thing as well.
Yeah, great, that's cool. I mean, it's become its own thing. You know, the story itself sort of created itself almost. It was one of those ideas as a scriptwriter. You know, we had the initial concept, we had the location, and then it just sort of became this beast, you know, where you had to go through all these procedures and really, you know, discover this story as a gamer, which, you know, hopefully, you know, players just really get sucked into and get really immersed by.
Well, it seems to have a great reception on Twitch already. I already saw like about 10 people stream it the other day, and
well,
you know,
it was really odd because we thought, how is this going to translate onto a platform like Twitch? Because I associate it with multiplayer games and things like that you can, you know, you can pick up and put down quite quickly. You're doing rounds, and we had more people watching it than they were watching Minecraft at one point.
That's
so
unbelievable.
Like
it's been really fun.
And it was it's obscene, like, and it's really lovely to see the kind of the chat that's been going on, kind of like around it as much as anything else.
And the Twitchers have been fab because they've been saying, okay, we totally understand if you want to leave the stream now and discover the ending for yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's something that, it's a bit like you don't want someone to spoil the ending of the movie for you. It feels like you've not had that experience. I think you'll genuinely benefit from this if you play it on your own, you know, at night. You know, maybe some good headphones.
Well, yeah, that's the thing I was about to say. You know, it's almost, you know, as a streamer, you know, I want my viewers to share my first experience, but it's almost, I want to just turn the lights off, headphones on, no other distractions, and really give myself to the story. I mean, how is it, you know, you've made this game, you know, and then you've sent it out to the world. It must be very bizarre to see it in a Twitch chat with people responding, and
extremely bizarre.
You know,
I mean, you're as any developer will tell you, you know, they're always isolated, you know, for a long period of time. This took us a year to make, and you know, suddenly you send your baby out into the world, and you just hope everyone's really nice to it. So, and everybody really enjoys it. So, it's been really cool seeing people, you know, screaming and crying on Twitch and just going crazy and hiding behind their hands.
Well, if you're provoking that kind of emotional reaction in someone, you know you've done a good job, because you know, we're all so aware of these, you know, barriers, that this is fiction, and to give yourself over to something, let alone when you're streaming it in the chat room, that shows how compulsive the story must be.
And I think also, you know, Adam Brown, he really has done such a good job, and he draws you in. I mean, that's really what we wanted to portray, and this was his real. See, look at his face there. He looks genuinely terrified.
I'm actually scared. I mean, like a big room with loads of lights.
And he's such a good physical actor.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have anybody to bounce off against. He said the most challenging parts were, you know, those lonely parts where he was sort of doing the elements we needed for the game. And there's really, you know, he was never in a scene with lots and lots of people because
he really enjoyed playing against the bunker.
Yeah.
Because he's in the Hobbit, for instance, he was a lot of CG kind of like stuff.
Yeah.
And
green screen,
green screen,
and there's obviously no green screen in this. It's a real bunker. It's really smelly. It's really cold. It's a dank, horrible, uninviting place to be because it's not meant to be visited by the public.
I was ill at the end. I got pleurisy.
Oh my god!
Yeah, that was fun.
Hey, I mean, the sequel maybe, or something in there for the future.
Yeah, I know.
it's got that effect on you.
But that comes across as well, you know, even in games these days, there's so much green screen, there's so much visual effects, there's so much, you know, non-practical things going on. To see something real, the real cameras, the real stairwell, it makes you feel like this place is real and this is a story you can really identify with. I mean, it's set in I'm from Essex, you can probably tell from my accent, and like this is a real bunker in Essex.
It's in Essex, yeah.
No, I've never been, no.
Oh, you're gonna have to.
I mean, we had Adam literally crawling through, you know, air vents and, you know, stuck in cupboards and, you know, big things that were used to be industrial machinery. And he was up for it, but, you know, we had to get the shot. So, but, you know, it's this genuine place. It's all still there. It's all still very creepy. And we've twisted the real live location to suit the game's needs. So the actual real live location's got 3 levels. In their game, we've got 5 levels. So we had to take reality and sort of, you know, put things that are there in other places to suit the game.
It is really odd when we walk around because this is the bunker to me. So there are cupboards. There are like the fuse box, for instance. That's not a fuse box. That's a set of stairs.
Yeah,
to fudge that somewhere else.
I get completely lost now because in my head, the game
is the layout.
Yeah, this is the actual map. This is the way it's laid out.
Exactly. And now, you know, we go back in to do a pickup or something, and you know, I'm completely lost. I've no idea where the toilets are or the canteen or anything. You know, so,
I guess that's, you know, evocative of the world you've created. It's so real to you in your head that you think it's the actual location.
It's the only way we could have done it is to have this 3D, just like a real game, you know, a 3D model of it, all connected by different things. And we had to write the script like that, like a 3D map. It was very odd for me because I'm used to, you know, writing screenplays which are linear. So to write a screenplay for this was just more of a construction of a place which changes over time. Yeah, very odd but cool.
I think for me, one of the most interesting things is like we're so, you know, we love film and we love and everything, and half of what you see is what you hear.
Yeah.
And the music, it was probably one of the most fun things, wasn't it? Kind of like doing that. We've got this amazing composer, Dominic Shelton, and it was just brilliant because he just got it. He just got what was going on. And if you watch a film, all the tension is built with kind of like music all the time. But there's these looping sections where the player is the editor. So you don't know how long this is going to take. So having to maintain a level of tension during those parts and it free up at any point whilst still musically working and everything was a real challenge.
And he did a great, I mean, he's done a kind of a real John Carpenter vibe, you know, mixed in with there's a bit of dubstep in there later on.
John Carpenter mixed with dubstep, if that doesn't sell the game.
And Wales, and whale music now.
And whale music.
Yeah, it's some whale song. But it's great, it's a really, I love the soundtrack. It gets really crunchy and terrifying later on, you know, so you get moments like this which are sort of, you know, something's going to happen. You're never quite feeling at ease in the bunker.
Yeah.
You're always slightly on edge, but it really ramps up further down the line.
And also, you know, coming from TV where you're in control of every second, you're in control of every edit, you're in control of, you know, the whole kind of story that the viewer goes on. It must be quite an almost terrifying thing to let someone else control the narrative.
Absolutely. I mean, there are sections which are edited linearly like a film, but even those are interactive. And there are sections like this that the player is just deciding what to do next. And yeah, you're right. You have no idea what they're going to do. They could just leave the room immediately. They, you know, so you've got to prepare for all of those eventualities and give them as much freedom as possible without, you know, making it an unfilmable project, because it was a tiny budget, you know, in terms of filmmaking. It's very small budget. We had to make sure everything we had went on screen, and you know, all the shots just looked fantastic, and you know, hopefully, you know,
it does really come across. It's filmed on a very small budget, but it's got that kind of, you know, high quality TV feel that I think will allow for more people to get into it and feel like, oh, I'm just watching a show on you know, TV or on HBO or whatever. You know, it's got that kind of that quality. You know,
yeah, hopefully. I mean, we used a camera which a Sony A7S, which is really good in low light, and because the bunker is dark.
In the dark, and there'd be no grain.
It can actually see in the dark. It's an extraordinary thing. And so we used all the natural lighting that we had.
Oh my God!
Yeah, a bit of a flashback there to something horrible.
I'm really actually quite scared. I might have to go get a drink of water or something.
This is John. Now something even worse has kicked off, and he's trying to find an NBC suit because he's got to go down to the depths and, you know, and solve a really big problem. So this is when it's really, really kicking off.
And John being John, he needs to follow the manual, follow the
Yep, need to follow that routine,
Yeah,
follow the...
He's only ever known, you know, he's grown up in a military base, you know, so he has to do things in a certain order, in a certain way, and he's just not well. He's just mad.
Well,
so.
Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for. I'm sure if people want to find out more or play the games themselves, as you say, it's available now on PC and PlayStation, and out tomorrow on Xbox One.